Welcome to another episode of Connect the Dots. Today I'm joined by John. John, welcome to the show.
Good to be here, Jack.
John, why don't you just give us a bit of an overview about you and some of the amazing works that you're doing over at DreamLab, please?
Well, my history starts a long, long time ago. I've been very blessed to be able to be in the entertainment industry and the themed entertainment industry for over 30 years. And, not talking about my history, but where we are today, we've evolved to a company who really focuses on immersive, interactive experiences that are meaningful, are great storytelling opportunities, and are about giving people something to walk away with, whether it's education, whether it's entertainment, whether it's just a thrill. We really like that category, and it's really where our focus is more now than ever in the past.
I read online, is it about the term brand engineering instead of branding or marketing?
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about that.
Well, that's interesting. That's an interesting term, and you know, I've got a right brain, left brain way of thinking, so I think very creatively and very pragmatic. So the term, we've always re-engineered ourselves, and we've always looked at everything from an engineering standpoint. When I say that, it's sort of a, well thought out, well planned kind of, you know, group collaborative sort of way that we move through things through the years. So um, in re-engineering our brand, it's looking at it from all of those aspects of what technologies we might be using, what we might be inventing, w- how we're maintaining human leadership over all technology, how we're reaching out to try to accomplish things that are really difficult to accomplish, like we always have, in interactivity and guest experience, um, in products that we're working on to support our projects, and who knows, maybe in the future they'd be available for others. But it's a real engineering process of who we are and where we're going, I guess.
Yeah, I gotta ask, what would you be doing if you were not in this space?
I was going to go to the Culinary Institute in Hyde Park when I
Right.
left high school, and I wanted to be a chef, and I probably would have been a celebrity chef by now. Who knows? But anyway, that's one of my passions. But I got this opportunity to tour with a really amazing band in the '80s, and I took that. As I said, I could always go to school, which I never came back to. Um, till recently with AI. But I joined the band, and music led me to production, led me to being a producer, led me to uh, theme park creation, sound design, feature film work, on and on and on to today. So it's sort of that one decision really led me in a lot of great directions.
How does your sort of amazing past shape your future and some of the works that you're doing, right now at the business? You've had so many different amazing, opportunities. Is anything that you've learned or along the way sort of inspired you to do what you do today?
Yeah, a whole lot of it. I think, one thing about our company and the people involved in our company and my great partners that I've had in the past, and just the amazing talent we've had is, I've always been a sponge, and I've always been interested in what's next, looking forward. Um, and that was sort of the vision and philosophy around our company and everybody who was involved. So it was very fun through all the years to always look at, what's the hardest thing we can do? Let's try to accomplish it. And so all of that experience through all those years are not forgotten. They're all a
Yeah,
foundation
yeah.
of the kinds of knowledge we have to share with others now. We go into meetings with clients, and 9 times out of 10, they start to talk about what they're looking for, and we have an example of doing something like that in the past that we can reference because we've done so many different things through the years and all over the world. And so I think that foundation is fantastic. And then just the desire to embrace the new, new technologies, new ways of doing things, working with, collaborating with different people than we've collaborated with before, just being open to looking at everything as a blank canvas. I have to say that's the most exciting thing about, I guess, what we bring forward from everything that we've been involved in.
That's a great insight. And in terms of sort of deep tech and communication, why do you think that brilliant companies sometimes struggle to explain what they do?
We had that problem early on with SoundDeluxe. It was because we did so many things. Like somebody say, give me your pitch in one sentence. And it's like, well, we do sound design for feature films and music for feature films. We do theme park attraction technology design. We do custom product design. And before you know it, you've got this like huge paragraph. And so what we've learned is to kind of take it to the highest point of what is the um, tying ribbon through everything, that in everything that we do, because we still do all that, and everything we do, we want to create guest experience in an immersive, interactive, experiential way. And we use
Mhm.
media and technology to accomplish it. And so really, that really has become how we can explain what we do. Obviously, that might leave a lot of people saying, well, explain some more. And that's okay. Um, because again, it is vast, the kinds of things that we can accomplish and things we have done and things we will do. So I don't know
Mhm.
if that answered your question, but that's the best
No,
way you can
it
answer it.
does, but let's say I'm a business. How do I sort of simplify a complex idea without sort of oversimplifying it, if that makes sense? How can I make it just sound a whole lot easier?
What we do,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just yeah, and in general, what you do, and just advice in general, please.
oh, invite in general. Oh gosh. So that's a good question. I would say you really got to go for what your passion of your reason for doing what you're doing is, right?
Mhm.
And if you're selling products, you're trying to improve someone's life through products, hopefully, right? Trying to improve something, whether it's individual's life, whether the life of animals, whether it's, you know, ecology, whatever it is, you're trying to improve something. Certainly not, unless you're building bombs, you're not trying to destroy, right? So
Yeah.
you got to look at like what it is that is the most meaningful part of what you're bringing forward, and try to isolate that into to a paragraph of what it is that you do, so you can explain it. Obviously it goes much deeper than that when you start to really dig down into it. But I mean, if you're asking what I would suggest to someone who's maybe having a difficult time figuring out how to market, how to get their word out, how to differentiate themselves, that's where you gotta start.
Yeah, I think that's a great insight. And you mentioned AI earlier. AI is obviously making it a lot easier for companies to create content. Um, does that make sort of strong positioning more important or less important? And I'd love to get your thoughts on AI and if you're using AI at the business.
Yeah, I think AI has a lot of benefits if respected, if you're knowledgeable about it, and if you understand, what your goals are.
Hmm.
And first and foremost, if your foundation is based on the fact that you're not looking for AI to solve all your problems and to replace all your employees, right?
Yeah.
If you come from a true place where we look at it as an advancement in tools and an advancement in capabilities, a platform for people to have much more much more access to usable whatever it might be, media, information, um, code. If you use it properly, it can certainly improve the mundane processes in your operation, your workflows. So using agentic AI to look at the workflows that you have within your day to day that waste your time. There's
Hmm.
nothing wrong with getting rid of that and giving yourself more time to devote to your clients, to your product, to people, to your family. There's nothing wrong with
Yeah.
that. So looking at that as a basis of building agentic workflows that simplify the mundane processes or help you define loose processes. One of the things I learned was that, you know, in establishing those workflows, you want to first think, here's exactly what I'd like it to be like, right? Because maybe you might not be operating the way you ultimately want to operate. You say, here's what I would like this to work like. And then
Yeah.
from that, you can start to build that agentic workflow tying between your products or the things that you do, your communications, and you can achieve what you've been looking for, and that's a beautiful thing too, because that's a frustration for a lot of companies, a lot of brain trusts and leaders and companies is to get consistency through, say, certain workflows, right? It,
Yeah.
it's really really important. Then the other side of it is understanding how, if you're in the content business, I mean, if you're creating content for marketing on Instagram or things like that, that's one level of content creation. Very short, very fun. It's all that good stuff. But
Yeah.
if you start to create feature film work or theme park attraction work or things like that, there's a certain amount of concern over security and safety. And so you're seeing that Disney just signed a deal with Adobe to build their
Mhm.
own models so that they can model their own content and build future theme park attractions and things through those models that is completely within their ecosystem, completely within their,
Really?
so they're not stepping out. There's no issues of grabbing things that are copywritten and things like that. So it's a very
Right.
great approach. And that's an approach that we're taking as well. And that's an approach that I think a lot of the market is going to take. So it's really
Yeah.
important to understand that human capital is always going to be the primary value of every company. You've got to have the people. AI is only going to think on the level of what it's been taught, things that have
Yeah.
happened, things that are behind us. What humans will do is be able to look and dream about what hasn't happened, what isn't there, what can possibly be. And they do that through their own experience, like what would make my life better. AI doesn't think that way. So,
Yeah.
humans are going to always remain so important in this world of AI, I believe, based on those kinds of elements.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great insight. Um, uh, as well, what does a company need to do you think, to ensure that AI systems actually represent what they've built? You mentioned obviously Disney, a good example there. But what is it that you think a company needs to do to ensure AI systems actually represent, I guess, what they have built internally?
I think education,
Mm,
you got to educate yourself. The first thing that I did, I started about 2 years ago, is I started training. I went to the University of Miami for the Chief AI Officer certification. Then I did a period with Harvard for Agentic AI. Then I
nice.
did a period with MIT for leadership and Agentic AI. And I'm going to continue. I think one thing that I learned is that with AI, you can never stop learning. You've got
Yeah,
to continue to learn. 'Cause as soon as you finish something and you think you're there, there's something else that you need to
definitely.
know about. And so I think it's very important to be open to education, be open to learning, be open to quality learning, um, and then take that information and respect that information and then bring it into your world. I think that's a very important part. And then what was the other part of your question?
No, I think you've answered it brilliant there. Because I was
Okay.
going to actually say something that you mentioned there was interesting. Because I had a CEO of an AI company on, and what he was saying is, a lot of people think AI is Claude, your charts, etc., which obviously it is, but in fact, it's a little bit like when Apple released an app. There's an app for that. There's a sort of a tool for everything, whether it's marketing, sales, admin, delivery, finance. Everything can be automated these days. Um, we have a lot of C-suite, a lot of founders listening, but we also have a lot of younger professionals who are maybe thinking about getting into, whether it's the tech space, could be AI. Do you have any advice for our younger audience who are maybe making that next step in their career?
Well, I think, gosh, I wish I was young again at this point in time.
You are.
It's like, this is an incredible time to be young, to be looking forward to a career that you're beginning in. And you always have to, and I know this is a cliche, but you always have to be in love with what you do. So,
Yeah.
you know, you can have a job and you can devote time to that job, but if that job isn't a part of you, if it doesn't feel like an extension of you, then it's going to be, you know, you're never going to be satisfied. And the way I always would tell my employees, you know, I'd say, look, you spend X hours a day away from your family, you travel, you spend X hours away from your family. Make every second count, right? Don't do something that, if this isn't what you want to do, then don't do it. Don't do something that is not going to be something you can look back on and say, yeah, I spent a lot of time away from my family, but I'm very satisfied with the results, right?
Yeah.
And the journey. And so I, I would say you have to embrace AI in some form. You have to embrace that, the world of new technology, let's say, because it's not just
Yeah.
AI. There's a lot of things out there. We call it AI, but there's all kinds of things that are emerging that are part of this incredible future that's ahead of us. Um, the thing that I would do is never stop using your brain. Never stop thinking. Don't simply write 5 words into chat and think that you've solved something. Because if you don't use your brain, if you don't get your brain thinking and stressing and experiencing, you're going to miss out on what you can bring to your career in the world. You know, it's all inside of you, and everything else outside of you is what you can use to achieve whatever's inside of you. So that, I don't know if that answered it well enough, but that's the way I would
No,
look
it
at it.
does. Yeah, and
You know,
and and on that, you've got to enjoy what you do. Do you not think sometimes as well, though, sort of fear kills people are scared to maybe take risks or people who
oh
want
yeah.
to start a business, they want to start a new career, but do you think that risk sort of kills more dreams than actually daring or doing actually does?
Well, I tell you what, you're never going to accomplish really big strides unless you take risks. You know,
Mhm.
you could very well climb a ladder by being excellent at what you do, but you're going to climb a ladder that's going to give you the opportunities for that rise, right? So
Yeah.
there's an opportunity. You're going to interview. You'll go higher. You go higher. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But if you want to accomplish incredible things that'll surprise the heck out of you, you've got to take
Yeah.
risks. You know, you've
Yeah, I
got to,
agree.
take risks. And artists are that way. Like, artists forever have taken the risk of putting their livelihood on the line for their art, whether it's a musician, whether it's an artist, whether painting artist, because starving musicians, starving artists, it's a real thing.
Mhm.
So, that has always been in the world where people have risked a simpler way because they're passionate about their art. You know, I'm not saying you have to be a starving anything, but think about when an opportunity comes up and it's a risk, or there's a risk involved. I have to move to a new location for this one. I've never been there. I don't like to move away. Um, whatever it might be, consider it, because those are the times where you either learn enormous lessons, or you learn those lessons and you achieve enormous results. And so,
Yeah.
that's either one of those is excellent
Yeah.
in your career.
Yeah, and finally, when people think about Dream Lab in say 3 to 5 years, what impact and what do you want to leave in terms of your legacy, and what impact do you hope to have on innovation and entrepreneurship?
It's really funny because, I mean, we have a 30 something year legacy of the most amazing things. If you look at our history, my history, my partner's histories, so we already got that, but we don't look at that. Like, I don't look at that. And maybe there's a day I'm going to turn around and look. Um, I think I just want to keep having the opportunity to create these incredible experiences, write beautiful music, create
Mhm.
incredible visual art, work with fantastic people. Um, just, I don't care about awards, achieve award, level accomplishments. Um, but that's it. I don't really feel like, I want to prove anything to anybody. I don't want
Yeah.
anybody to praise. If somebody learns from what we do, if somebody takes from what we do, if somebody builds something similar from what we created, that's fantastic. That means that what we did inspired. And if we can inspire others to continue and to grow into the areas that they want to grow, I think that's really all that's necessary. That's a legacy, I think.
Yeah, John, thank you so much. I really appreciate the chat.